So there's a lot of confusion about the Supreme Court's ruling in the Arizona case. The reason for the confusion is that the court did have a split decision. It struck down 3 provisions and it upheld 1 provision. But what's important to take away from this is that the court was very clear that Arizona cannot enact its own immigration policy. The 1 provision that they did uphold, the papers, please provision, the court did recognize it could be subject to abuse by state and local cops, and they made it very clear that there are constitutional limitations on how that provision can be implemented.
This is troubling for people living in Arizona. What the Supreme Court has let stand, the papers, please provision, means that police can racially profile. In a state where 30% of the population is Latino, that's a very dangerous provision to have stand. Sheriff Joe Arpaio, under investigation for his discriminatory treatment towards Latinos, is Exhibit A as to why that provision should also have fallen.
Well, I think the most important thing that other states should take away from this is that the Supreme Court has been very clear that states should not be engaged in immigration policymaking. But some states have already gone down the SB 1070 path and followed Arizona's footsteps. And what the court's ruling today will do is create a roadmap for the lower courts and how they rule on those cases. And so the provisions requiring people carry registration documents, the provisions that make it a crime to work, and the provision authorizing warrantless arrest, all of those 3 provisions will be struck down in those other states. But several states have enacted the papers, please provision that the court allowed to go into effect today as well. So we're going to have to carefully monitor whether there are civil rights violations that accompany the implementation of those provisions in those states.
There's a provision, as we've described, that stands. It's a papers, please provision. And the folks who feel that they're going to be asked for their papers are unfortunately Latinos. They're people of color. So as we go into the election season, Latino voters and other people of color will be listening very carefully to how candidates respond to the court's ruling. But Latino voters know that what the country needs is a federal solution. We need one coherent immigration policy. We need a policy that doesn't permit police to ask us for our papers because of how we look or because of how we sound. A multicultural, multi-ethnic country like ours deserves better.